When Sarah is confused about her love life, she starts getting special gifts for all nights of Hanukkah. She has too many suitors to ever imagine that her best friend Daniel could also like her. Sarah gets nervous before her first online date, which goes horribly. Her second date keeps talking about his ex, while the third creeps her out. After a couple of setbacks, Sarah matches with Nigel. He's impressed that she's an optometrist and beautiful. Sarah's friend, Keisha, set up her profile on the app. She doesn't want to use it much after all the bad experiences. Nigel, on the other hand, is on the app because he's too busy at his restaurant. He's a celebrity chef, and Sarah has even watched his show. To get another date with her, he offers to cook the next time. Sarah doesn't know if she's ready to date yet, but she has hopes with Nigel. Keisha wants to hear all about the date, especially when Sarah mentions Nigel. Her childhood friend Daniel, who is repairing her clinic, is also interested in learning about this date. He asks them to check out the progress on the repairs he is working on with Jimmy. Sarah already knows that Daniel will pull through and get the place ready by the last day of Hanukkah. Keisha, who is also Sarah's assistant, informs her that Adam is dropping by for a new pair of glasses. Since he has bought too many pairs, Keisha is sure he's into Sarah. Adam asks her out this time instead of making any excuse about glasses. Encouraged by his forwardness, Sarah agrees to coffee. When she gets a call from Nigel later, Daniel wonders if he knows about her date with Adam. Sarah is also confused about the newly single vibe she seems to be giving off. She broke up with Paul 4 months ago and is still not completely over him. Daniel knows that Paul never deserved her and wants to keep reminding her to not think about him. He gifts her something he made in junior high for her grandma, Bubba Rose. When Sarah gets home, she talks to her grandma's picture about the possibility of finding someone special. At a meeting for the Jewish community, Myra has a problem with calling their annual fundraiser the Mazel Ball. Sarah thinks it sounds great, and all the other men agree with her. Myra also doesn't like that Sarah's brother Jacob is playing at the ball with his band. Tom knows Jacob is a professional and takes Sarah's side. Since Sarah feels uncomfortable about Paul also attending the meeting, Daniel is there for her. Paul urges her not to make things weird between them, but she asks him to move on like her. On the first night of Hanukkah, Sarah invited Keisha for dinner with the family. She bonds with Jacob's daughter, Zoe. Sarah's mother, Esther, is a judge, and she met her dad, Stuart, in the courtroom. Stuart was a public defender who didn't mind losing a case to find her. Even after 37 years of marriage, her parents seem inseparable. They light the menorah candles together, after which Keisha learns all about Jewish traditions from Zoe. Keisha loves that Sarah uses her grandma's glasses for her optical shop's logo. Sarah admits that she became an eye doctor because of her. Daniel is also a huge part of the family because he grew up next door. Since his parents split when he was very young, he has been coming to their place to play with Jacob since Sarah was a kid. Keisha wonders if anything ever happened between them, but Sarah clarifies that Daniel is just a friend. They wrap up after a game, but Keisha notices a present for Sarah on the porch. Her secret admirer has left a note for the first night with white roses. Everyone thinks it could be from Nigel, Adam, Tom, or even Paul. Sarah is more interested in how well this admirer knows her. White roses from her grandma's garden have always been her favorite. Daniel knows from the note that she might get 7 more gifts for the rest of the days of Hanukkah. The next morning, Sarah is determined to find out who this admirer could be. Keisha wonders if Daniel sent it, but Sarah doesn't think that's a possibility. They could have had something in high school when she wanted Daniel to ask her to prom. He asked Sandy Lembeck instead, so it all seemed to be over. When Daniel hears Sandy's name, she tries to change the topic. Sarah has noticed that Daniel's relationships never last because no one seems good enough for him. She loves him as a friend and doesn't think he sees her that way. After Googling Adam, Keisha finds that he is a genius software developer. Since he's also shy, Keisha assumes he's the man and doesn't sign his name. Daniel asks them for lunch, but Sarah informs him about her coffee date with Adam. He hopes for another date right after and brags about taking her to San Francisco in his corporate jet. Sarah likes that he's honest enough to admit that he lacks social skills. She still asks him to keep their dates limited to Seattle till the holidays. Daniel brings Sarah to his place after the renovations, and she praises him for achieving so much since they were kids. She still remembers him making cardboard forts in their backyard. He shows her the space they can use for the Hanukkah hunt and where they can hide the gelt. Sarah thinks he should keep the house instead of selling it so that his kids can one day enjoy it. He wonders about her secret suitor, but she's having a hard time figuring out who he is. She loves that someone cares enough to send gifts, but Daniel is sure anyone would be lucky to have her. They play chess like old times, but he seems too cautious about his next move. They head to her folks' place for dinner, where Esther packs a lot of leftovers for Daniel. Jacob is excited about his band getting together and starts playing with Zoe. After losing his wife, Ava, Esther and Sarah are glad he's finding happiness again. Sarah comes home on the second night to find chocolates on her porch. Esther thinks this man knows her well because the chocolates made her realize that she's trying to find a long-lasting love. The following morning, Daniel overhears Sarah discussing chocolates with Keisha. He quotes her favorite movie and remembers how she always ate chocolates with it. Keisha has received mail about the antique glasses Sarah wants, which might not be available. Nigel wants to have lunch with her and comes over to her shop with a picnic basket. Since he's so good-looking and famous, Keisha hopes he's the admirer. Daniel is worried about Nigel being in Sarah's office for a long time, but Keisha doesn't think it's unsafe. When Sarah gets out after the great meal, she is eager for another date with him. Daniel seems distracted when Jimmy turns up for work the next time. He has an offer from a developer in Aspen to build 7 custom homes. Daniel isn't sure about moving out because the closest thing to his family is in Seattle. In the next meeting, Sarah discusses their need for toys for the Hanukkah hunt with the kids. Myra starts panicking because the caterer for the Maisel ball has been double booked. Sarah offers to speak to Nigel about catering, but Myra has doubts about a celebrity chef making Hanukkah food too. Paul chases Sarah out of the meeting when she's expecting a call from Nigel. She gets a notification about the vintage glasses that look like the ones her grandma had. Paul is eager to share that he has been made a partner at his firm. Daniel watches as Paul admits he misses her and touches his arm. Daniel is nervous about hosting Hanukkah dinner for Sarah's family for the first time. He's also trying to follow the latke recipe Sarah's grandma gave him. Daniel's dad is mostly absent, so Stuart is more of a father figure to him. Sarah thinks he should be proud of how well he has done for himself. For the third night, Sarah gets an empty photo frame. This makes her realize that she wants to have a photo with her husband and kids in the frame. The next day, Jimmy teases Daniel about liking Sarah and asks him to make a move before the secret admirer. Daniel doesn't seem worried and admits that he is the admirer. He has 5 more gifts to figure out if they're meant to be. Meanwhile, Sarah invites Nigel over to go over the menu for the Maisel ball. He agrees to do whatever she wants and likes spending time with her. When Esther drops by early, Nigel bonds with her over their shared love for food. Jacob mentions running into Daniel's ex-girlfriend Susan Kramer that day. Daniel seems sure he can't imagine his life with someone who is not the one. Before they enter for Hanukkah dinner, Jacob warns Daniel that Nigel is also joining them. Nigel ends up leaving before desserts to take care of his restaurant. They all like him, but notice that Daniel is acting weird. Jacob thinks it's because of his possible move to Aspen. Daniel hasn't told anyone about it but admits he has to give an answer by next week. Even if Sarah knows she will miss him, she wants the best for his career. On the 4th night, Sarah gets a wristwatch from her secret admirer. Sarah thinks it could be from either of the 4 guys courting her and asks for Daniel's opinion. When he can't answer, she gets motivated to figure it out. Later that night, Daniel nervously drops by Sarah's place to tell her something important. He pretends it's about Aspen and how bad he feels for not telling her sooner. Sarah assures him that she's just glad to have him around. She's more worried about being a terrible dancer at the Maisel ball. When Daniel helps her practice for it, she loves that she can be in the moment with him. The next morning, Daniel feels bad that Sarah doesn't even consider him as a suitor. She was always Jacob's baby sister for him till he started seeing her as a woman. When he realized how he felt, she was already with Paul. After they broke up, other suitors came into the picture. This is why he feels the need to be anonymous with her. He wants her to have something special but hates to compete with other guys. When Adam drops by to ask Sarah for lunch, she shows him the watch to get some reaction. When he doesn't respond, she makes an excuse about being busy with the fundraiser. Adam offers to arrange every kind of toy she wants for the Hanukkah hunt. She shares this news with Daniel and how generous Adam seems to her. When Keisha informs her that Tom is dropping by, Daniel gets worried about him being another one of her suitors. When Jimmy suggests he should get an eye exam to get closer to her, Daniel decides to get one. Sarah feels weird checking his eyes and instructs him about what to do. When she asks him to look at her, he admits that he finally sees her. When he seems very serious about her general questions, she feels a little awkward. On the 5th night, Sarah gets a tree as a present. Esther thinks this guy is as romantic as her dad, and Sarah also agrees. Sarah and Daniel recall their childhood Hanukkah hunts. Daniel claims he always let her win. Sarah gets distracted when Adam turns up with a car full of toys. When she goes to thank him, Paul also arrives to help. Paul and Daniel seem worried when Sarah gets excited about Adam's gifts. Sarah and Daniel initiate the hunt with the kids and get them very excited about presents. Sarah admits it's the best Hanukkah yet because of her admirer. She is impressed with how he outdoes himself every time. Daniel suggests that the man might be leaving clues so she can figure out who he is before the 8 nights are up. For the 6th night, Sarah gets a music box with her favorite song. This makes Stuart also believe that this man deserves her. Sarah finds Daniel on the bench dedicated to her grandma. It has been 2 years since she passed, and they both miss her a lot. With the ball getting closer, Sarah still needs to find shoes for her beautiful blue dress. She knows the mystery man will love her in it. Paul asks her to meet him, but she's headed to the menorah lighting with her family that night. She gets another call from Daniel about the fixtures in her shop. She asks Paul to join her for the ceremony if he wants, but Daniel is hurt that she's talking to him too. For the second last night, Sarah gets the vintage glasses she has been looking for. She meets Paul to clear things out, but he wants another chance with her. She seems sure he's not worth it, because he never prioritized her in their relationship. Paul promises to not put his work before her, but ignores her again when he gets a call from work. Sarah tries to remember who she told about the glasses. She thinks it could also be Paul, since he's trying to change for her. After overhearing the conversation, Daniel acts cold when she comes to check on his work. He's angry at her for assuming that someone like Paul gave her these thoughtful gifts. When he mentions details about her, Sarah finally realizes that Daniel gave her gifts. She seems surprised that he sees her that way, so Daniel thinks they can never be more than friends. Sarah dresses up for the ball and turns up at Daniel's place before it. She wonders why he never shared his feelings when he realized that he liked her. Daniel can't give a timeline, but knows that all his best memories are with her. Sarah admits that she has always loved him too, and doesn't want to lose him. She excuses herself to head to the ball and assures him that she doesn't have a date. At the event, she thanks Nigel for being a great friend. She confesses that there's someone else in her life now, so nothing can happen between them. After this, she admits to Paul that she's in love with Daniel. Paul isn't surprised and wishes her luck with him. As Sarah is on the stage alone, Daniel finally turns up when their song starts playing. He asks her for a dance and praises her new moves. On the last night of Hanukkah, he gives her Bubby Rose's promise ring right there. Sarah's grandma had given the ring to Daniel in the hopes that he would propose one day. Sarah feels overwhelmed and kisses him when she realizes they were always meant to be together.